In this lesson, we're going to be adding in a timer to time how many milliseconds it took for the player to solve the game. So let's set up another variable, and we'll call it start time. And we're not going to have any values in here because we're going to set this as the start begins. So whenever you hit the start button, we're going to count and calculate the current time. And using this as a global variable, so when we go into start, we're going to set the current time to new date, getting the current time of the new date object. And we want to parse this into milliseconds. So using date parse, and this will bring the count to how many milliseconds since January 1st, 1970 of the new date, and the new date is the current time. So this is our start time, and we can console log out that information. So the start time will always be different depending on where you're starting, and if you're watching this video, your start time is going to be larger than my start time. So every time we start it, we see that that start time is changing, and that is increasing because it's counting down from that date, from that January 1st, 1970 date. So the next thing we need to do is once we finish the game, we just need to add in and get an end time. So setting up our end time and using the same format, so date parse, getting the end time, which would be the current time whenever we're finishing the game, and then the difference, so duration. So this is the time that we've played. We're going to take end time, minusing the start time, and duration. So let's see what that looks like. So go back out, refresh it. Now we need to get all of the words. And that took 14,000 milliseconds. And in order to get seconds, we can take this value and we can divide it by 1,000. So that took actually 14 seconds. So try that one more time. So start game. So now we're calculating how much time it took. And we should also have something where whenever we've already selected one of these words, we should have something that covers that and updating that value. So let's update the current one. So if we've got it right, and we'll add a class of hidden to it. So we're not going to be clicking it anymore. Or we could also apply a style. So this gives us a little bit more flexibility. We can do hidden, change visibility to hidden. That's actually a better one because that way we're going to still be reserving that spot. So let's try that now. So coding is going to disappear. We've got brackets is going to disappear. So now as we're selecting them, we see them that they're going to be disappearing from that selection. So it's going to make it a little bit easier. And then when we finish the game, we need to reinitiate and have that start button once again. And we can clear out the contents of game as well. So let's do that. So once we wrap up the game, we want to show the start button again. And that start button, if we go into inspect, that button is still there. It's just not visible. So we just got it on display none. So we need to select that button and update the display value of that button. So using document and query selector and apply style is going to equal block. So we can see that start button again. So one more time, let's play through it and hopefully really quickly. And that one took 6 seconds and we get our start button again. And so now we see that being rendered out again. So all we need to do is clear out that game area that we had used earlier in order to render out all of these elements. So using that same document query selector, and we're going to clear out all of those elements that are available within that gameplay area. So using game and setting the inner HTML, and we'll set the inner HTML to be blank for that one. So try that one more time. So course, HTML, JavaScript, brackets, coding, and Lawrence. So we need to duplicate that array out. And I'll show you how to do that in the upcoming lesson. So that's one last fix we need to do before we launch this application.